Who the heck is Star Wars even for? Because Star Wars is not for me. Because this is not my Star Wars or this or like what the frig is even this. I'm a big Star Wars fan, but I just feel like Ahsoka, Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, it wasn't for me. But I don't know who it was for. Now I'm a millennial, born in the '80s, raised in the '90s. We have growing up, we had zero content really other than the original movies and the expanded universe novels, which I could only get my hands on a little bit, but mostly later in life. And then we had video games growing up in the 2000s, which were, the pinnacle of Star Wars. We were waiting for the next big thing. Star Wars Galaxy's greatest MMO ever, Jedi Knight Academy, Jedi Outcast 2, Dark Forces, Rogue Squadron, the pod racing games. Like this is what made Star Wars great. It was lots of action, lots of fun, decent story. And then now we come to Disney purchasing Star Wars. And, I know everyone harps on this, but like, who are they making these shows for? When The Force Awakens was announced and marketed, everyone was pretty hyped up. It looked like it had potential to be a sick movie, sixth trilogy, and everyone was gassed up about this thing. But then, the movie came out and it was okay. I didn't personally hate it. It's not my favorite Star Wars movie, but, they were trying to target a new demographic of Star Wars fans. To me, as a millennial, it did its job in making me, I love going to the movie theater, seeing a Star Wars movie. It was good. I have two boys. They're 7 and 5. They love The Force Awakens. It's their favorite movie, and mostly because it, has crappy lightsaber fights, has force powers, has a cool villain with a cool mask, and my boys, they all love it. They're not old enough to understand the deep lore that we grew up with, but they like it, they enjoy it, so it got them excited about Star Wars. Now we look at all these Star Wars shows that have come out: Andor, Ahsoka, Kenobi, Book of Boba Fett, Mandalorian, and really, like, these shows they're just like, they're bad until they're not bad. Like, it doesn't make sense how these shows kind of work out. Now, The Mandalorian started off as this unreal Western style bounty hunter show, which like, I love season one. I was bought in, all in on this show. Moff Gideon was a great villain, and then it just kind of turned into not what it was for whatever reason. The Grogu arc and then him coming back and stuff like that. Like, it didn't really make sense, but they know that Baby Yoda was the number one selling force in Star Wars, so it's kind of understanding why they wanted to save him as a main character in this show. And then Book of Boba Fett, they really dropped the ball on that. The show was terrible. I love Boba Fett. He's probably my favorite Star Wars character. I love him in the comics. I loved him in Jedi Knight Academy. He's in the new Jedi Survivor series, and all his appearances are great because he's badass. He's hard. He's cold. He's a killer. And then in Book of Boba Fett, they made him this like Disney princess, soft and loving, caring. Even Fennec Shan just is this stone cold assassin, and now there's these soft, childlike characters. And even my children who watch this show know that, like, something's not right. Like, this is not the Boba Fett that they know. So if it's not made for me and it's not made for my kids, like, who are they making this for? And then we look at the Kenobi series. Terrible show. I mean, the Reva arc, yeah, it was okay. It was cool, but the story didn't make sense. But just the screenplay on it was like the Leia chase scene and smuggling Leia from Coruscant or whatever planet they were, off the top of my head. It just was like brutal, and I'm like, man, the show is terrible. But then at the last episode, we see Kenobi and Vader fight. We're like, okay, the show's sick. Like, it's a pretty sick scene. So we forget how bad the show is until we see this the end fight. And then with Ahsoka, I mean, I think they really dropped the ball on bringing the Rebels into live action. Ezra, he played a good part. It was pretty cool, but Ahsoka was a big letdown. And then obviously Bale Skull and Shin Hati were really cool characters, and I really liked them. I think Bale Skull really made that show good. But then we see, the show is pretty weak up until you have, the Hayden Christian appearance and the flashback scene where we're like, oh, okay, this show's good now. Like we're good. Like, we were all hyped up with Thrawn, and then Thrawn's kind of a letdown. So, and my boys, they didn't even want to watch that show. They had no interest in seeing the Ahsoka show. So it's not for me, a millennial. It's not for my boys who are, I guess, are Gen A's. But like, who is the show for? Because it's not for Rebels fans because they let down the Rebels fans. It's not for the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy fans because it's terrible. So who are they making this show for? And with the Acolyte coming out this year, there's a lot of political talk about this show and how it's going to be, politically driven with their narratives and whatnot. And it's like, man, like, who are they going to make this show for? Because if it ain't your Star Wars fan, and if my kids aren't going to watch it, who the heck are they putting? Who are they going to make this show for? The director saying that it's supposed to be a Kill Bill style show, so like they better have live action comic book style fighting and swordplay. Like it has to happen. I don't know what's going to happen if it doesn't, but I think everyone's going to riot. So, anyways, who the heck is Star Wars even for? Let me know. Am I just like being a complainer like everyone else on the internet or not? You tell me. But anyways, thanks for checking me out. Star Wars Police signing off.